You are listening to Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour, a podcast released on the first 3 Wednesdays of the month. Family crisis, relationship crisis, addiction crisis, no two crisis situations are the same. They vary by family, individual, and relationship. They can encompass complex family dynamics, emotional distress, anger issues, and entitlements, and often involve substance abuse. This podcast addresses these issues and others surrounding the addiction epidemic currently plaguing this country and the world. There is hope and help.
Are you stuck, scared, or unsure of what to do next? If a situation with a loved one, spouse, or even a child has started to spiral, possibly becoming dangerous or threatening, it's time to seek help. My name is Scott H. Silverman. I help families navigate crisis situations. I'm the person you turn to in order to get you and your loved ones unstuck.
Welcome to the show. This is Michael Glenn Moore for Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour. Scott, I can't even talk today. I have no idea what I was trying to say, but I said my name backwards.
You might want to read. That's a do-over.
Yeah,
I think it was you're trying to say your own name, Michael. And
yeah, I know it. I don't normally get stumped on that, but anyway.
I mean, if you can't say your name, we got a problem. We got to start all over.
That's why we call it Happy Hour, because it's Happy Hour somewhere.
Yes, yeah. Woohoo!
Well, Scott, kind of redeem me. What's going on?
Okay, well, Michael Moore, how are you? Anyway, it's nice to see you, Michael, and great kickoff. And look, the only reason it's my fault that happened, I have been purposely not involved with doing our podcast for a couple of months now, so it's my fault. So by next Saturday when we record again, please practice saying your name, and we will just nail it. Okay. Anyway, so it's good to be here today. Good seeing you all again. And I can't really see you until you send me your picture. I'm Scott H. Silverman. This is Happy Hour. We record every week. We did for years. And then Michael took a vacation. Then I took a hiatus. And then I hid out. And then I got afraid. Then I came back. So we're back. And we're excited about our guest today. She is flown in from Angelsville to be one of our stars of our show, and someone that I've gotten to know just briefly in the most recent past. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody, please, if you have some ideas, some suggestions, who should we be talking to? Who shouldn't we be talking to? Because that's the one we really want to talk to. And if you need to and want to talk, call me 619-993-273 at yourcrisiscoach.com. Scott H. Silverman, Google me, find me. Let's stop going to funerals, okay? The way things are going in the world today, don't forget 3 of the hardest words in the English language: I need help. And you know what? When someone says that to me, my heart beats in a way that I can't really explain. So don't be afraid. Ask for help. So today's guest, we asked for a bio, we asked for questions, and clearly she's very independent and very resistant and doesn't like to listen to other people tell her what to do, which is great. But I'm gonna let our guest tell us about her and her background and what she has done and how she's done it. And then we're going to talk about what she's doing now. And then if we get an opportunity, we'll reprimand her at the end of the show about not submitting her questions. I like to do that because I want to make sure I cover our guest's most important pieces. And she wanted free flow, and we can do that. And we're going to do that today. So Deborah Driggs is a lady who, there are people in the world that you meet and you go, aren't they really wonderful at what they're doing? But she really, from what little I know about her, she really belongs to what I call the 1% club. And the 1% club is the club of people who actually eat, sleep, and walk the walk and talk the talk. And when you hear about her background and you hear about who she is, and she tells you about what she's doing, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. So it's really an honor, Deborah, to have you here today. And we kind of met on another podcast, and I was impressed with, more importantly, where you're going, and not necessarily with what you did. And I don't mean to discount your past, because obviously you're a big star and you're famous, and you did something that, when you think about it, it's almost like astronauts. How many of you are there on the planet that experience what you experienced? So share whatever you're comfortable with, and periodically take a deep breath, sip of water, and I'll jump in with another question. But The show is all yours, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Deborah Driggs.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I remember when we did that podcast in 2021, early when I started doing podcast interviews. So thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me this time. And yeah, I have that past. I was really reflecting when you said the three hardest words, I need help. And, we could talk about my past for hours and go over that, but really what I'm really into right now is helping people who are suffering. And I want to give back and be of service, so to speak. And for many years, I did not use those words. I was quietly suffering, and really on a very deep level, and I didn't realize just how deep until things would happen in my life as I was getting older, and I wasn't able to handle it. I wasn't able to deal with it. And I would get so just like, I felt like, just being pulled down so heavily with bricks. And I thought, why am I feeling so bad? And then you have people that would, say to me all the time, oh, you always look like you have it so together. And because I'm extroverted and because I had the career that I had, it just all looked good on the outside. But on the inside, I was really suffering. So to take you back a little bit, yep, I started out in the entertainment business very young. So really not prepared at all emotionally for the roller coaster ride that I was going to go on in that business. But I had success early on. I went right into commercials and got an agent. And the first thing they sent me on, I booked. And, I just like overnight, everybody was like, Deborah this, Deborah that. And got a part on a cable show called The Fashion Channel. This is before QVC, before HSN. And I was doing modeling and commercials and running around Hollywood with everybody, back in the early 80s. And in 1989, I got the call from my agent that Playboy wanted to see me to put me on the cover of a book they were coming out with called The Lingerie Book. And I had never aspired to be in the magazine, and I didn't really know anything about Playboy. I had seen the magazine. Obviously, I knew who Hef was, but it wasn't something that was on my radar. And so I went to the audition. I went to the famous building on Sunset Boulevard. I had passed by it 1,000 times and never imagined that one day I'd be walking in to the studio in the building. And I did the Polaroids and I left, and I thought, that didn't go well. I'm not the Playboy girl type, And that afternoon, I got a call saying, no, we want to test you to be a centerfold. And I thought, I was absolutely sure they had the wrong person. I even said, I think you're mixing me up with somebody else that was at the audition. She said, no, we really want to shoot you to be a centerfold. We forget the other audition. We want you for this. And so, back in 1989, Playboy was the #1 magazine in the world. I was very young. This could, open a lot of doors. People were talking about Playboy a lot back then. But I also had to weigh it with the stuff that I was doing in my life, which was, you open the Sunday paper and I was doing Macy ads. I was doing, I was that girl, and I wasn't going to get those jobs anymore if I did Playboy, because back then, if you did Playboy, it was like a catch-22. I wasn't going to get the girl next door jobs anymore, and it was going to be a whole different career change. And so I took the risk and I did it, and it opened quite a few doors. Went down the whole path of, I was a VJ for Playboy's Hot Rocks. I did the Bob Hope special on Acapulco. I mean, I could tell you my whole resume. I was on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and it did what exactly we thought it would do, which is everybody wanted to meet me and everybody wanted to date me and everybody wanted me at their party or their dinner party. And I was the it girl for, 5 minutes. But what I knew to do back then is to get really serious about acting and put myself in kind of this 2-year acting program so that I would have the chops behind, my auditioning and all of that. And then I got married, had kids, and life changed. But what happened after I got married and started having kids is this kind of depression, anxiety, fear, whatever you want to call it, because I'm really careful about labels and words that I put out. But whatever it was that was going on inside me was getting worse. And things were getting worse. You know, by the time I hit 40, I hit probably some midlife crisis where everything just shot up at once. And I was divorced, broke, 3 kids. And now I have to reinvent my entire life. And, you know, I grew up in the entertainment business and I was a performer. I really didn't know anything else. I never worked in an office. I barely graduated high school and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I didn't know how I was going to survive and be a mom and raise 3 kids and all of that. And so I did a bunch of odd jobs. Cut to 2011, I got my life insurance license and did extremely well. I had a good 12-year run in that business. And during COVID, just to speed things up a little bit, I found some real opportunity during COVID. I found this opportunity where I had started on this journey of kind of trying to figure out what really was I married the love of my life and I still wasn't happy. I made a lot of money. I still wasn't happy. I was on the cover of magazines. I still wasn't happy. So what was going on, and I never really popped the hood to really look and see what was going on. And I had a lot of stuff, a lot of trauma, I was suffering quietly and alone, and I was not asking for help. And when I finally did, it was like, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And that was kind of my story. Once I put it out there that I needed help and that I was suffering, and thank God I didn't get into drugs, because I could see that probably would have taken me down. But I really, alcohol became the thing that I would self-medicate myself with. And I would, it was like every night, a bottle of wine, until finally I was like, okay, I am at the point where this isn't working anymore. And I don't feel good. I feel worse. And I really feel sick. I just feel, that show Dope Sick. I get that. But I had it with alcohol, and I had it with depression, and I had it with trauma, and I had it with fear and all these low spiraling things. And I was just so sick emotionally that I finally kind of went to work. And, I had done quite a bit of seminars and, things that are outside that you can do other people's programs type of thing, but I never really took the time to do the work on the trauma. So I finally checked myself into a place where I could just focus on that. But the problem with that is that I left there. It was a 7-day program, no phones. And you just did this deep dive into trauma work. It was a place in Tennessee called Onsite. And I highly recommend it for anybody that's gone through trauma because it worked. But the problem is that I left there and I didn't know what to do next. And even though they kind of give you suggestions, like maybe go to this meeting or this CODA meeting, or you could go do this, it wasn't congruent for me. It wasn't like I need direction. And so I started to think, well, how can I take everything that I've done and kind of make it into a 90-day program for anybody out there that's really suffering? And so I came up with this 90. I woke up one night in, I think it was December of 2020. And I was in so much pain. And I went to this place in October. And I was in so much pain that I thought, you know what? I'm going to do my own program. And I just it was like something hit me. And I wrote it out on 2 whiteboards, what I was going to do. And I was going to do it for 90 days. And I ended up doing it for 6 months. And then most of it, I got to the year. And when I tell you, it was probably the hardest year of my life. And I also got certified during that year as a life coach. And I also got certified in some other things that I wanted to do. But I was also, going through this heavy duty, I'll call it a detox if you want, because I removed every distraction. And I think when you are suffering in life, you have to do the 90 days. You have to do this kind of removal of all the things that are distracting you, whether it's alcohol, sex, shopping, drugs, texting, social media, TV, whatever it is. For everybody, it's different. And I removed all of it. I just said, you know what? I don't know what the worst thing is that's distracting me. So I removed all of it. I took out traveling unless it was for work. I didn't date for a year. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. Like I literally sat in my Deb's den, which is what I created. It was a safe space to heal. And I got really down and dirty with the writing. I started writing a weekly blog because I thought if I'm suffering quietly and people seem to think I have it all together, then I wonder who else I know is suffering quietly and who would read my stuff and just, it would make them feel like they're not alone. Because like you said, nobody likes to ask for help and reach out. And so it was kind of the motivation behind my weekly blog. And then, also putting it together, this 90-day program, because I think there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of things that people can do, but I think now after the pandemic, I really feel that people are leaning more into this virtual safe space. And I thought, I don't want to get on a plane right now and travel. And it's very healing for me to be in my safe space and my safe spot while I'm doing this deep dive healing. I wonder if other people feel that way. I wonder if they would want to be on a virtual call with me once a week where we could discuss emotional and spiritual healing type of topics. And so that's where Deb's Den came in. And I spent a year first doing this, which was a lot, and kind of getting to the root of what was really going on with me and and when you remove a lot of stuff, a lot of distractions, and you're left with this, when you're alone with yourself, you learn a lot. You become really aware. And it's interesting because just recently I decided that I would start dating slowly and kind of getting back into the world. And because of this awareness that I have, things don't happen so quickly now. I'm not so impulsive. And I'm very aware of when things aren't feeling right, like I feel it now. It's like really interesting to have this like awareness. And it's also really been beneficial with the people in my life that are really important to me, the people that are around me, and they feel the shift. It's a shift. And when things shift, kind of people either kind of come along with you or they resist it. And for me, it was, I could feel that it was benefiting everybody around me because I was making this effort to kind of improve things that were making me so frazzled and anxious and locked up, so to speak. And once I kind of let it flow and just kind of started writing, and I started having a voice. So this is a very interesting thing, is for many years, I did not feel that I had a voice. I was very afraid to speak up and say how I was feeling. And I had chronic laryngitis and sinus infections for years. I would lose my voice. And, that's not good especially when you're an actress. And my acting coach would actually always call me and she's like, what, you're constantly losing your voice. And when I looked back, I wrote a whole thing about it. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? I had that chronic tightness in my throat chakra. I was holding all this energy there. And so there's like, when you look at these patterns and you look at it, it starts to become fascinating. And the more I did this work, the more curious I was getting, the more I was reaching out for books, the more I was calling mentors, the more I was like, just getting more and more energetic with the thought of being of service and not being so in my head, if that makes any sense. So that was a long introduction to Did you guys fall asleep? Hello?
No, we're both here. But I have an 8-second attention span, so I'm trying to figure out. I want to pull a couple of things that I think I heard you say, and and I said it at the beginning, and and it was an assumption that I made, and you've confirmed it for me now, that the 1% piece that I was talking about earlier, and I don't know if you really understood what I meant or what I meant by it, is and I've been I'm a hopeless helper. and I've been in the helping people business for almost 40 years. And I've worked with people who say they're in the helping people business. And I call it a business because it is, if you want to do it right and you want to scale it and you want to help a lot of people, you have to find ways to gather others with you on the journey, because you can't do it yourself.
No.
So what I heard from you, if I'm not mistaken, is you learn to love yourself so you can teach others how to do it. You learn to feel your feelings so you can explain to others. Not even have to explain, to your point, people see it. That's the pivot. You know, when you come across, if you've had friends for years and all of a sudden they're going, why is she so happy? Or what's happening with Deborah? Or boy, what's going on with you? I want some of that. Can you give me a pill? Can you fill a glass? Can you put it in a blender? And it doesn't work like that. And, you know, even in treatment, you said something that's pretty profound. And, you know, 95% of the people that leave treatment without a plan relapse. And in treatment or in detox or in that capsule vision, or where you go for that safe place under a monitored and supervised environment, when you leave there, hopefully you've gathered a couple tools. But while you're there, you're so busy trying to get rid of some of the pain, getting the tools and then applying them doesn't happen. I mean, according to the science around recovery, it takes up to 5 years for a full transformation to take place with the average human being. 5 years. And that's for somebody who's been using 2 or 3 decades. If you've been using longer, you know, you don't know how to do anything, have a relationship, carry on a conversation, you know, and you hear about people with sleep, you know, all the disorders. So anyway, I think the journey you're on today, you know, that's what caught me when we first talked, and I heard it today. And you even sound like you've gotten a comfortable sweater and a pair of shoes, and you know, you're now in that safe place. You were talking about it last year about the journey you're on, and now you sound like you've got your own hammock, if you will, that you can be comfortable in, and it comes across. You know, I remember you were talking about getting ready to do it, and you had all these goals, and you talked about the eraser board and this journey you're going to take, and you know, and now that you've gotten to the other side, so to speak, being able to help others, in my opinion, will not only be more effective, but it will touch people in a way that allows them to give themselves permission to be happy as well. Because a lot of people, they just don't know how. And until someone shows them, and until they find someone they trust and then relax and let the guard down, they're not going to get it. I mean, they'll, you know, Anthony Robbins, you know, and I can't remember this guy, Robert Allen, I think was his name, David Allen, real estate guy back in the 70s, 80s, you know, you come to these seminars, they studied what they did and they charged a lot of money for it. And he made a fortune in real estate twice, made it, lost it, made it again. 97% of the people that attend these events do nothing with the information.
I was one of them. I went and did, I can't tell you how many Tony Robbins events that I did. And here's the beautiful thing about Tony. Okay. He wasn't for me. He's for people that want to get really good in business and want to take something to the next level. But if you're suffering, like I would look around the seminar and be like, what am I missing? Why don't I feel like rah right now? Because I needed to be in a place of safety, and that place wasn't a place of safety for me. It was good for the 5 days, right? You know, you get something out of it, but if you're really suffering, that was the thing that kind of woke me up in the middle of the night. I'm like, okay, I've done all the rah, I've done the Master Co, I've done the silence retreats, I've done the yoga retreats, I've done the fitness 75 hard, I've done, you know, I am like, I got that, you know, I'm obviously self-motivated. So what's going on? Why don't I feel happy? Why don't I feel what got turned off in this connection between my ego and my heart and my gut? Like something got turned off. And that was what was getting fascinating for me, is that I did all those seminars and I still did not feel good. I still was really just like, is there something really that wrong with me? And it's like, no, I haven't done the real work where you remove. It's not for me. It wasn't, I had the success. I understood when Tony was talking about, you want to take it to the next level. I understood. I made those calls. I begged directors for speaking parts. I got on covers of magazines. I understood that mentality. What I couldn't understand was the depression and the anxiety and the real suffering that was just kind of taking me over. And the older for me, and I don't know if this is true for everybody, but for me, this anxiety, fear, and depression just got progressive for me. So that by the end of my 40s, early 50s, I was like, wait, what is like happening right now? I felt like my whole body was shutting down, and I'm pretty active. And so it was something I really had to take a look at. And I do feel that 90 days, like you said, 5 years, I get that. But if people, and I tell people all the time, because people will send me messages when they read my blogs and stuff, and I always respond with some positive affirmations for them to do, or some advice of what I do. But the 90-day program that I'm talking about, a lot of people won't commit. They go, 90 days, that's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, as you know, 5 years is really the journey. I mean, I'm just getting started, and it's been a little over a year. And for me, I see like 90 days, it can be no less, because at 90 days, I finally got a little bit of relief. And that's when I was like, maybe I should do 6 months. And then 6 months came, and I was like, I got to keep going. This is like, I'm starting to feel a balance in my life. And so I tell people, my program isn't for everybody. It's for people who are really suffering, And then I also started volunteering on a hotline. I do 3 hours a week on a hotline for people that are really, really suffering. I just volunteer.
And that's very humbling and insightful when you're starting to listen, and you get grateful when you think about it. I mean,
guess
I
what?
do a lot of
I don't
service
need
work.
to be here. I don't need to be here. I want to be with you. I want to be with people that have way more to tell me than what my head wants to tell me. My head wants to tell me just some ridiculous, unwise thoughts. And so I would much rather listen to what other people are going through and what other people need. And, and now my first thing is, well, how can I support you? Because anything to get out of this whole ego mess that happens.
One of my favorite sayings is, my mind is like a bad neighborhood. I never go there alone.
Yeah, you exactly right. You don't want to do that.
So let me turn it over to Michael, because he always asks the best questions. So Michael, what's on your mind today, brother?
Oh, it's my turn already. Goodness, I was
Already?
getting into your conversation.
Yeah.
Well, Deborah, tell us a little bit more about your blog. Now, it's a blog and not a vlog, right? It's not video.
It's a blog as of right now. Right now, my website is deborah.driggs.com. So it's my name.com. And I write a weekly blog. I post a blog. I have written over 100, because I was on a whole, like, everything was going to come out of me. And when I write my blog, I don't edit it or anything. I send it to somebody who checks spelling and grammar, and then puts it kind of into the SEO, I think is what you call it, format for the website. And now I'm updating my website. My website is only going to be about healing. It's not going to be about acting, modeling, my past life. It's only going to be about healing and a place for people to come, and then they can hire me as a coach, or they can hire me as a month, 30-day program, or they can do my full 90-day program, which is total immersion, and do what I did, which was not easy. As far as a vlog goes, I have just started doing videos, and I will be adding videos as well, because I want people to really, I think when you really see somebody and hear somebody, as a matter of fact, I just started on my Instagram account putting up videos, and people have been messaging me going, oh my God, I watched your video. Thank you. That I needed to hear that. And a lot of my stuff is really, it just kind of formed into relationship stuff, because I really that was, I think, the biggest thing for me, the hardest thing for me to look at, if I want to be brutally honest, was my part in a lot of my relationships and how I behaved and the things that I did. And I speak pretty openly about it. I talk about how horrible I was in my divorce. And, I only focus now on my part and what I need to learn from the behavior that I had and why I had that behavior. And, and at first, the first thing I really needed to do in those 90 days was really get to forgiveness. I had to get to forgiveness, because when I know that you guys both are very well aware of this, but when you're in shame, it's such a horrible emotion to be in. And I was living there way too much. And so the only way to get out of shame is, like I said, is to take 90 days to get out of shame, and that was my main goal. I was like, okay, I don't want to feel this way anymore. What do I need to do? And, I went to a lot of different meetings. I went to AA meetings. I went to Al-Anon meetings. I went to CODA meetings. I went to love addiction meetings. Like I went to every meeting that was available out there. How can you not? They're free. So I have those as resources on my website now, because these are free meetings, and you're not alone, when you get to go and you get to hear stuff that you've been through. I went to all those meetings. I also have a wonderful coach myself, and I have a lot of beautiful mentors in my life. And I think you can't do the suffering thing alone. You really, it's like a we need to be. So that's what I want my website now to be. So you're going to see in the next couple of weeks, if you go to my website now and you sign up for my newsletter, it's free. I'm going to be adding a lot of things for free, like PDFs and things, to really be very specific about what I do, tips and ideas and things like that. I want that to be part of me being of service. And then, you'll see, if you get on this journey with me, that in the next couple of weeks, my website's going to look totally different. My past is, my past. It's just that, when people say to me, "Oh my God, you were on this, or you were on the cover of Playboy, blah, blah, blah," I go, that is about this much of who I really am. It played a part in my life, but it's really this much. And it happened 30 years ago. And I'm today, there's so much more going on, with my life and what I do now.
I was also wondering, since you've got so much material with your blog, have you considered releasing a book?
Yes. And so I had to be very careful about that, because I'm getting very brutally honest in my book, and I wanted to be very careful. It's about 80% written. And the person that I was writing with was rushing me. And so I really did a lot of meditation, a lot of praying about it, because I just kind of gave it to the universe. And I thought, I don't want to be rushed, because I'm going to be talking about stuff that's really heavy, because I want people to relate, with stuff that I'm going to talk about. I want, because it's like, when I share my experience of suffering and dealing with trauma and abuse and stuff like that in my childhood, then it kind of moves me away from being on a cover of a magazine and being on TV or whatever, or, being, having that 5 minutes. It kind of makes me now relatable to people. And that was like more important to me. I'd rather people relate to me as a human being than what I did 30 years ago.
Okay.
That
Why
makes
don't you give us your quote to see us out for the day? And
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of my favorite. I have many, but this is one of my favorites, and it's from Oprah. Can't do better than Oprah right now. Okay. If you look at what you have in your life, you will always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. Oprah Winfrey.